morning. Hello. Everybody had their coffee? My coffee drinkers?
I actually did have coffee today. I went to Johnny.
Like the country, yeah.
I drove it.
Use the app, save you some points. It's worth it. Get a free coffee, free donut here and there. Hey, you know what I heard? That Starbucks is going to be kind of changing its open door policies where you just like randomly go on Starbucks and do work and sit there for hours. So like requiring, kind of making the employees tell you like to buy something else you gotta leave. Right, it was a huge change. Because we just kind of expect that people just go on Starbucks and, you know, get some Wi-Fi, just chill out or whatever. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but we know a lot of things are shaking up. How do you think that would affect Starbucks in terms of like how we perceive Starbucks, culturally or whatever? Think it'll impact this?
Instead of like, you know, like the space, I guess, or like, instead of it feel like they're like welcoming or something like that, customers might feel like, oh, that's
Just a business, right? Because like usually we think of like, if a Starbucks come to the neighborhood, to, you know, our neighborhood, it's like really close and like, man, that's cool, right? Because just a sort of meeting place oftentimes, people are like, hey, let's just meet up at Starbucks and get coffee or, you know, do a Zoom or something there. So it's more of a community thing, like Starbucks is perceived as a community thing. If there's a Starbucks, like the whole community is kind of excited, you know, as we've taken over. So changing that sort of policy would change how we perceive Starbucks. It's just kind of like, oh, they're just about business. They just want to buy. And that might dissuade people from supporting them. Maybe it might spark up some new large coffee retail chains, right? And increase competitors who may have an open door policy, right? Change the game on that. So small things like that make significant changes. Walgreens is closing a bunch of stores. I think they're trying to close 500 stores in the next like 2 to 3 years, which is a huge impact, especially like maybe your parents or your grandparents go get their prescriptions from Walgreens or CVS. So that's going to impact a lot of elderly people who need to go get their prescriptions, or you know, if you just go get little random things in your neighborhood at Walgreens. 6 of them here in Chicago. There's quite a few like in kind of slightly impoverished areas, so there's a lot of complaints there as well too, like hey, closing it in places where people who don't have access to these other things that they may need. Those are a few things that I kind of took notice of this week. All right, where we leave off. All right, we were talking about strategic planning, right? Poor planning leads to poor results. You should have a plan, because plans indicate your goals, it keeps you action driven, it guides you, it directs you. You revise plans, you come back to them, ask new questions. Maybe you're asking the wrong questions to begin with. You're assessing, we're saying personally, you're assessing who you are, who you're trying to be, the goals you're trying to reach, who you're trying to become. Same with a company or a product, like what is the company, who are they, what's their identity, their brand identity, what's their goals, who do they think they are, who do the public think they are, right? All these different things. So we're talking about plans so that we can execute, different ways of doing it. So we talked about what? Developing some plans, process, structure, metrics. All right, we looked at corporate business strategy, functional strategy. We looked at vision statement, where do you see the business going? Why does the business exist? Gap analysis, where you are now versus where you're trying to be. Right, objectives and goals, and then monitoring progress. Then we looked at SMART goals. We say things need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. And now we're over, and lastly we looked at the portfolio of Microsoft. You say, hey, you know what, just like in personal life, don't have all your eggs in one basket. It's probably not a good plan. It's probably not a good strategy in life. Right? One thing fails, you always want to have redundancy, something that can kind of save you. Right? The same goes for businesses. They want to have a diverse portfolio, but they want to not just have random things that are completely unrelated to what they started out doing. It has to be related. Right? So like you always figure out your core product, your core service, and then you can add little alternatives that sync in, i.e. Apple. Right? Everything is integrated around what? What is the core product of Apple? Okay, the iPhone. What is the core? Is there anything beyond that? Beyond the iPhone? Before the iPhone? Yes.
You own everything, like within it?
Okay, so it's a closed system, right? Hey, don't third-party people, we're not Android, right? Everybody can come in and add some stuff, and everybody's part of the same. Apple's like, no, we don't want that. Right? Everything is Apple. We own everything. You gotta go through us, you gotta go through the gatekeeper. But even beyond that, what is the core product of Apple? Something that's on the iPhone, something that's on the MacBook, something that's on the tablet, something that's everywhere, yes. Operating system, right? iOS, Mac OS, right? They're all integrated. They're just for different sort of types. Right? Small screen for the phone, right? Something a little bit different for tablet, and then something a little bit different operating system for desktop, right? Or laptop. So you say that's the core product, right? It has apps on there. Things you can download in the App Store to use, purchase, something of utility of your own interest. And then beyond that, we said they have the devices too, right? So we say we gotta integrate this operating system with devices that people need, people use, that people find convenient, and that helps their daily lives and makes their life easier, which is the phones, the tablets, the laptops, desktops, etc. Beyond that, you say, well, there's extra stuff too. You can buy a cool mouse, you can buy headphones, Beats, right? Headphones, you can buy AirPods, right? You can buy an Apple Watch, Watch OS, right? Watch operating system, another Apple operating system, same thing, just formatted for a smaller device. But you kind of see like, hey, it all centers around operating system and devices that go along with the operating system. Then you can add on the third-party things. Right? We're talking about phone cases, a cool case for your MacBook, you know, all these things, maybe even bags. Now Apple's getting to a new game with the Apple glasses, right? So Apple's like, hey, where do we go from here? Phones, it can't just stop there. We're on the 16th iteration of the phone. Eventually, people are like, all right, another phone doesn't mean much. Right? The sales might decline because you're like, well, there's nothing really revolutionary. Yes, a new iPhone, faster processor, slightly better camera, like nothing really game changing. Right? So Apple's like, well, where is the future? The future is wearable eyewear or device. Like, hey, you know what? We want to get to the point we don't want to pull out a phone. We don't want to look at the watch. That requires something to do. Pull it out, look at it, right? You may just want something to just walk around, use your hands, and speak to it all the time, right? It pulls up the information in your environment with the augmented reality, right? So, Apple's went the AR way, right? Other places may have went virtual reality, right? We think of maybe Meta, Facebook. They had the big, what's the VR headset? Oculus, right? Like, hey, that's the direction Meta went. We're going AR. We're trying to add stuff in your natural environment, right? Pick up information, not some sort of made-up environment with virtual reality, right? Total made-up environment where you can't really change too much in the environment, in the natural environment. So yeah, so Apple has diversified its portfolio. Back in the day, Apple, before they had the stores, the Apple stores, where did you buy products? Where would you go to buy them? Before we had these fancy schmancy Apple stores, where did you buy Apple products? Right, you all may be too young to remember, we had places like Best Buy, Circuit City, right? You might have bought it in Target. You still probably buy something in Walmart, right? It was located in retail chains. You could go into the mall, right? Into the big mall, shopping malls and buy. But Apple didn't have a dedicated place just for Apple products. They didn't have Apple stores, right? So tell me, why do you think Apple would create its own stores? Like, what would be the point of that? It gotta make sense. It gotta make business sense. It has to make marketing sense. It has to make financial sense. Why would they create their own stores? Yeah.
Just so they could like control everything that they do, like coming out of the middleman, just make sure everybody knows to Apple.
Yeah, you're like, hey, they sort of centralized everything, right? But imagine if you go into a store and like, hey, they sell Apple products, oh, but they also sell Google stuff. Oh yeah, they got some Microsoft stuff too. You're like, hey, that's taking focus off of our product. Right? These are our competitors. Why do they want to be in the literal same space with our competitors? We don't want people to be looking at other products. We want to centralize it. Someone else? Say something to say? All right, yes.
I felt like it was a smart move for Apple to like make that transition, but in the first place to like have it being sold in retail spaces, I felt like gave it a lot more of like, the awareness that like, Apple needed, and then as they sort of grew and got bigger, they had that position to sort of become their own like central thing.
Yeah, it took time, right? They couldn't maybe do it at the beginning. It makes sense at the beginning, right? But over time, they said, hey, you know what? Customers need to troubleshoot their devices. They got issues with them. So where do they take that? Right? You take them to some place where people work on all devices, or maybe some. Like, that's going to maybe stall the process of getting your problem solved. Feel like, once again, if we're marketing the product and it's being marketed with other competitors, like, that's not good, right? Two, we pay rent. Well, three. Like, we pay rent. That's money. You pay rent too. Pay it to a landlord. Right? We're on a lease here inside the shopping mall. Right? We gave Walmart and Target some money so that we got a dedicated little Apple space for our devices. Apple says that doesn't make sense, right? That's money going away to someone else. And Apple's about control. Once again, we say Apple's a closed system. So how do you continue this sort of process? With a plan. You got a plan. You say, hey, the plan is to always be closed. Which means there's probably more safe. The device is safer. Right? You're gonna need somebody special to crack it open. The FBI at one point could get inside these Apple devices for terrorists who use them. You're like, man, it's pretty good safety for your device. You're not worrying about it catching a virus like Androids or something where you're like, not worried about it. Pretty well protected. Right? That's good. That was, say, the idea at the beginning of the concept. We're like, hey, depending on what we do, we need the money to get there to have these different places. So you solve all the problem in one place. You have Genius Bar, come in. What's the problem with your phone? What's the problem with your tablet? What's the problem with your AirPods? Solve it right then and there. Oh yeah, by the way, sit here and we'll walk around the store. There's a bunch of new Apple products. You might possibly decide to upgrade the phone, buy an Apple Watch, buy some cases, something, right? Apple's like, oh man, this is a wonderful environment. It's a social environment. Free marketing, chit chat, right? Word of mouth. Man, have you been to the Apple store downtown? Oh, that's pretty cool, right? Free marketing. So Apple's like, here's a smart move. But the biggest probably reason is sort of the same reason as McDonald's. McDonald's makes most of its money from what part of their business? What part of their portfolio? Yes.
I like drive-through,
Well,
or is that over there?
yeah, I mean, well, part of it is, the drive-through, but like what actual thing is worth the most about McDonald's besides just the brand?
Like that's accessibility and like how there's so many like across the world.
Real estate, right? Locations. McDonald's is most of its sort of financial power is from the number of stores that it has, but those stores are worth money, land, property, blah, 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 right? And then they franchise, give us some money, you can operate this store, right? We send you the marketing stuff, put up a new sale, new Big Mac, blah, 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 follow our rules, right? But it's real estate. And so Apple thought of that too, rather than paying the landlord, giving them rent. Apple's like, oh man, we'll open awesome stores that will increase in value over time, that will transform neighborhoods, that are aesthetically different than every other sort of building in that area. Apple's like, this is a win-win. Financially, it makes sense. It's just like you buying a 3-flat building. Like, it's an investment. It grows over time as well, too. So Apple is even still in the real estate business, right? But it's still Apple related, it's still part of the core sort of product. So think about that, like you have to continue to grow and look at different opportunities as part of this plan of yours, right? But it should always kind of fall back to your core business. All right, so beyond looking at, say, portfolios, we're trying to think of, hey, how do we dictate what's the priority in our business, right? If we're selling 100 products, we can't focus on 100 products, right? They have a ranking order, a hierarchy, things that are priority, urgent, and then things are like not so urgent. Things that you dedicate a ton of money to market, to people, to promote, and things not really. Things that maybe market themselves. You go to the grocery store, you don't need to market Hershey's, Snickers, M&M's. There's no need for advertising. It's there, it's cheap, people are gonna impulsively buy it, and it's probably one of the greatest, like Hershey's and Mars are probably one of the greatest businesses ever to be in, right? Selling $2 candy bars and everybody loves a good candy bar, right? Located before you're about to pay, right before you're about to pay, you impulsively say, let's get a stick of gum, get me some candy, right? And so you want to think of, hey, what's priority? What needs to be pushed out there? What doesn't need to be pushed? What needs to be invested in? A ranking order. One of them is the Baltic Consulting Group matrix. Very simple matrix. And we kind of just give them little names. Baltic Consulting Group is one of the largest consulting groups, especially here in America. And they provide a lot of analytics and data that companies can buy for consumer research, right, and market research. All right, so first thing is stars. High market share, high market growth. Right, so you want to know, hey, you have a particular product or service, which one has the most market share, right? And which one has the most market growth? You say, that's my star. Just like having an athlete on the team. You have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and then you have a bunch of people that come and go from time to time. You got your star. You're gonna focus and invest and put all the money on your star, right? High market share, high market growth. Next are your question marks, right? They got low market share, they got high market growth, right? question marks, you're like, well, we don't have a lot of that market share, we maybe got 1% of the market, but there's a lot of potential for it to grow. It's gonna get bigger, right? We ourselves don't have a lot of the share, but the entire market itself is growing, therefore we're gonna make more money, more growth eventually. Then you get cash cows, high market share, low market growth. Right, you're like, man, we own a high degree of the market on this particular product and kind of corner things, but like, it's not really gonna innovate or change too much. Like, it may be a very simple, let's go back to candy bars. Right? Candy bars are candy bars. High market share, Hershey's, Mars, right? Oh, that. Pick one, they own one or the other, owns the other. The M&M, Snickers, you pick Mr. Goodbar, one of them owns it. High market share, be like, how can you keep going higher with candy bars? Like, how can you innovate candy bars? What do you do with it? Peanuts, caramel, chocolate. Pretty simple thing, but it's a cash cow, so therefore it's there forever. Like, this particular industry, you don't really need to innovate, it is what it is, right? It could be like a commodity, something used to like make something else. Like, it is what it is. Corn is corn, right? Bananas are bananas. Might genetically modify it, but bananas are bananas, right? Don't really need to innovate there. And then you get poor dogs. Low market share and low market growth rate, right? You get things that's part of your business operations, but you know, you can't really get rid of them. Maybe you tried at some point in time to get rid of them. They still have some sort of function there. There's still maybe a small percentage of people who really like their thing, but they don't really make any money, right? They keep revenues going, but they don't make any money. They don't make a profit, rather. And then we said SWOT. Who here is unfamiliar with a SWOT analysis? All right, SWOT, acronym, strengths, weakness, opportunities, strengths. Right? We could relate it to personal life. Okay, what are your real strengths? Being honest with yourself, not lying. What are your weaknesses? Right? Hey, what are some opportunities and what are some threats? What's holding you back? What can make you grow? What can make you achieve? What are you good at? What do you suck at? So some keys to a useful SWOT. Unbiased input. Remember we say don't lie. Right? Unbiased. If you're the CEO, there's no need for you to kind of lie about what you're strong at. Because if you lie, it doesn't make sense. You lose money. Because you're going to send all the processes and information to your employees and managers about something that's unreal, unrealistic. All right, so unbiased input. Objectively looking at something for what it is. Absolutely what it is. Okay, and then prioritize the listings, right? When we say ranking order, hierarchy, what's urgent, what's not urgent. Develop an action plan, right? This is what it's useful for. Think if you examine yourself and you do a SWOT on yourself, you're like, okay, now I know that this other stuff I've been doing I'm not good at. Probably eliminate that from my life so I can focus on the things I'm good at. Which probably yield me better results, and I'll probably succeed more. If you're still holding on to things you're not really good at, or maybe not that motivated for or interested, then you find yourself wasting a lot of time, money, energy, effort, etc. Right, so you want to use it to develop an action plan and then follow up, review, and modify where necessary. Which means it's in perpetuity, right? Constantly doing it, doesn't stop. As long as the business exists, product exists, we're constantly reviewing it. Because we're never just gonna be strong in every area, right? We're always gonna be having some threats, some opportunities, some weaknesses. All right, so what are the strengths? Internal capabilities that may help a company reach its objectives. such as strong brand identity, technological innovations, and high market share in industry. Right? So you say, hey, strengths. Nobody has the technology we have. That is a great competitive advantage. It means you can probably do things cheaper, faster, better, more efficiently. That is a strength. Right? Technology matters. Let's say capabilities, internal capabilities. Look at what an example of an internal capability be. What do you think? Something that makes a company strong, or even a product or service strong. What do you think of that? Right, think of the people. Like, man, we're in Silicon Valley, we got college graduates, all masters, PhDs, right? Cambridge, Harvard, Yale, blah, blah, blah. You got human capital, right? You got genius Concordia marketing class students. You're like, hey, human capital is a capability. We got people who just are awesome at thinking. They can solve problems, they're innovative, they're ingenious. Brand identity. Remember, usually the value of a brand usually always exceeds the value of physical things, right? Because brand is really not a physical thing, it's an image. Right? So you could say, hey, Apple is worth over $1 trillion, and maybe it's assets, but if Apple were to go in the market to sell Apple, probably sell for like something ridiculous, like $15 trillion. Like where? If that doesn't relate to the physical plants, iPhones, this, that, people, like, doesn't matter. Our brand is that powerful. We think it's worth an extra $10 trillion. That's the image, the perception of the brand, right? Some brands are strong, some brands are very weak. Hey, and going back to personal life, like, hey, personal brand matters. Your brand. If you do look, some of you may have looked at certain influencers, right? Social media, YouTube, yada, yada, yada. You're like, they have a brand, right? They may have a very strong brand. And indicative of the number of followers, right? But man, this person has 20 million followers and a very strong brand. And then others may not so much. But that's your goal. If you're in the business of being an influencer, right? You're competing with that image, brand. The W, the weakness, internal capabilities that may interfere with a company's ability to reach its objectives, right? Inversely, with outdated technology, strong brand identity of competitors, right? Which means that yours is a little bit weaker than others, and high employee turnover. I would say you may have the smartest, most capable people that work there, but if they quit all the time, that's not good. Costs money. Right? Because even if you have a degree, you go for your interview and you say, well, yeah, I know this about engineering, marketing, blah, 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 blah. And they come in and say, hey, that's all great. I'm glad that you have, the required competency level, but we're going to train you on that culture. You were taught generally, we're going to train you specifically on how we do. We do it a certain way, part of our culture and our image, right? And it takes a lot of money. And if you're training people to do that, spend the money, you don't want them to quit, because then that's a loss of money, right? So yes, that will be a weakness. Do you think of places where they have high employee turnover?
I like high them, like that.
They're hired and fired all the time. Kind of like that. At McDonald's. You say the brand, the image is worth $1 trillion, over $1 trillion easily, right? McDonald's, Coca-Cola. But in terms of the people, you're like, well, what is it? So it's like, it's not the people. It's not the people that keeps the engine of the McDonald's going. It's the system of McDonald's. They already know what's required for the equipment. They already know what the assembly line process is to make a quick quarter pound of cheese, to grill the fries, right? All these different things. So like the people don't really matter that much. They do matter to some degree. You may go there and be like, oh man, that McDonald's sucks. They always get the order wrong, right? And they take a long time. But for the most part, like McDonald's is McDonald's. It's still gonna be relatively fast food because the system and the brand is what's strong. But the people are weak. The people come, the people go. That's not a job to stay at for that. Opportunities, external factors that a company may be able to exploit for an advantage, such as competitor goes out of business, low interest rate, favorable exchange rates. What are some methods you think that companies do to knock out their competitors? Yes.
So if they advertise like different things, like how, they leave and call you, like if they don't look at anything.
Hey, go ahead, hey, here's your $5 menu versus ours, right? Their $5 menu is not that great, look at what ours is, right? It's spicy nuggets, junior bacon cheeseburger, right? So much better, you get bacon on the burger too, they don't give you bacon, like small things, right? But it works, right? You just have to think about it, oh, okay. Makes a little bit more sense, right? They might even talk about their soda, McDonald's might, we got the strongest Coca-Cola and Sprite, tastes really good. The Burger King team tastes watered down, it's not true. Small things, right? Like, hey, you get our great fries at McDonald's. But also too, think about, they just buy them out, right? If they're able to, but usually if it's a direct competitor, too expensive for them. So you probably will buy out startups that you see are kind of threatening. Like they're getting in your business and they're on to something really good, they get good leadership, like they get good stuff. They haven't gotten there yet because they just don't have the type of capital, the type of money. So they're like, we got that money. Right? So what do we offer them to just purchase it and make it part of our business? We want to buy out competitors to integrate it. Or sometimes you buy them out to eliminate it. Anybody go to Export? Or LA Fitness? Right, so LA Fitness bought out Export. And yeah, they closed most of the stores. So they're direct competitors, so they had enough money to say, hey, we'll buy them out, but I'm like, you're buying them out to do what? To convert them to more LA Fitness locations? Or you're buying them to just let that location die? And for the most part, they're buying them out to kind of let the location just go away. You know, and keep the smaller locations that don't require as much rent, that actually do make a slightly better profit. Because the fitness business is a hard one. Yeah, imagine how big of a space you need and how much rent that is, right? With all that equipment, pool, sauna, like, it's a lot of money to operate versus your little $50 a month membership. Right? So you're talking about how would that equate to profit, right? So here's one example, right? LA Fitness buying out Export. All right, anyone else can think of companies that bought out smaller companies for maybe some sort of competitor advantage? Like bigger companies buying out smaller companies. Yes.
I think like Disney bought Marvel.
Yeah, Disney bought a Marvel. He was like, hey, but it makes sense, right? Like we're in the fantasy business, we're in the storytelling business, we're in the character business. Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse, Goofy, Donald Duck. Could we add on Spider-Man? Right? Could we add on the Avengers? Could we add on X-Men? Right? Potentially Fantastic Four. Like we're in the same business. It's just different characters, right? But a huge fan base for regardless. Yes.
JD Sports, shoe store, they bought out the Finish Line.
They bought out Finish Line. Yeah. And they made us keep them as the Finish Line.
Yeah.
Right? like, well, why would these companies get bought out? Usually it's like something, it goes back to the SWOT. You're like, hey, something about that company to where they got several weaknesses, but we see some opportunities. Person running that, or the leaders or the managers don't see it. So they're kind of letting this opportunity go. That's where we come in as sharks, right? We smell the blood, we take over. Right? So they're saying that, and they come in and maybe with finish line, you're like, well, they just leave it, everything the same. You're like, probably not. You'll probably see some changes inside the finish line. They kind of look kind of like some other stuff, right? They come in and alter things, change things. Yeah, that was a good example, both of you, of Marvin. Okay, there was one I was, going to point out. Maybe it'll come back to me. Oh, I was thinking of Facebook, right? So Facebook bought out, what? What other platforms Facebook owns? And what else? Not Twitter, Elon, he was Twitter. What else? What other platform? Meta, Facebook. WhatsApp. Anybody uses WhatsApp? Yeah, right. So like, hey, it makes sense because really we're in, to be honest, you might, are you in the social media business? But yeah, that's kind of business we're in, but if you get to the root of it, like, well, what do you do? Like, we're really in the communications business. We connect people, right? So even if you go read some of maybe the mission statements or vision statements, you may see social network, but even beyond that, you might say about connecting people. That's the core business is anything used to connect people. WhatsApp connects people from across the world, right? All right, some different strategies, growth strategies we can use. Market penetration, increase expenditures and marketing efforts such as advertising and promotion to increase revenue and grow market share in existing markets. Remember we said, hey, if it's going back, so like, hey, you know what? Our cash cows, maybe it's not going to go anywhere. It's like candy bars, right? Poor dogs, I don't know, you may not want to invest there because it may just be the market itself, right? But like, hey, if it's our stars, let's just keep pushing more money to our stars. Let's keep investing more money. Let's penetrate the market, right? So let's give whoever, let's give LeBron James whatever he wants and promote the 12 most popular basketball players in the NBA on ESPN. You'll see the same old people being promoted, right? There may be some rising stars still like to promote. But like, it's not coincidence. It's really on purpose. Giving out money to promote these people because we know they have a huge fan base, which means more advertising. Right? More people to the games and more advertising for us. So you're like, hey, so let's flood some more marketing efforts today. We're not going to do that for people who are not that popular. They're not that popular for a reason. Right? For some reason, if they do something that change, maybe, you know, in that kind of realm, you say go viral, right? Like, oh, we got a rising star, we gotta pay attention to that person. And throw some money in it to help us make more money. So we can penetrate the market that way, increasing expenditures in our marketing efforts. Or we could do product development, new and improved products introduced to existing markets, drive revenue, increase profit, increase market share. Example of that, new or improved product introduced to the existing market. What's an example? New or improved product introduced into an existing market. Think of technology, devices. The watch. Right? We're like, hey, it's the same market. We just say it's all an operating system, All we need is a device that looks Apple-ish, nice, cool design, simple design, right? Form meets function, that's very simple. Apples are not Android, they're not about, you can do a billion things. People on Android are like, I can do so much more. Man, we've been doing that like 10 years ago. You guys now just got that for Apple. Right? They may laugh at Apple users. But then Apple users come back and be like, that's not what we're about. It's about simplification, make it easy, make it simple, because I'm not gonna use all that. Why do I need all that if I'm not gonna use it? I think you probably got 150 apps on your phone right now. You probably only use like 12 of them. Most of the time, right? The rest of them are sitting there in some folders forever. So Apple has said, hey, you know what? Guess what's an ancient device that people love to wear? And it corresponds with probably the most important thing that we think about every day, time. Right? Like, why is this watch concept so important? You know, like, it tells time. We're like, well, time is one of the most important things. People like to tell time in a fashionable way, a cool way. Got Rolex. Like, oh, you didn't need to spend $40,000 to tell time? But it's not about that. There's something more to it. It's the engineering, it's the quality, it's the materials, right? And it's just a watch. So I was like, hey, this is something that human beings find important. There's a market share to it. How could we innovate it by making it digital and integrated with other devices? Right? So yes, the Apple Watch, you can think of AirPods, Beats, all these different things. So product development. And then market development, looking to expand the market by reaching new customers, right? I think we gave an example on that with like the Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts coffee, right? You sell the coffee in the stores and like thinking, hey, where else can we reach new people? In the grocery stores. Right? Put the product in a bag, put the logo on it, put it up in Jewel, Mariano's, whatever. Right? People are like, hey, I don't have a lot of time to always go to Starbucks. I still love my Starbucks coffee. Let me have it in the house. Right? And then you're like, okay, well, there's multiple devices, so we gotta create the ground coffee for people who still use the old school way. Create some cured K-cups. We gotta put in some K-cups. Right? We gotta make it different for all types of people with all types of different devices for making coffee. Right? So that would be like market development, just a new market. Same old product, new market. And then we got concentric diversification applies to a company's existing business by adding similar products. We got horizontal diversification, larger customer base by offering new or unrelated products, or conglomerate diversification. So these are different type of diversification strategies. Remember, we say you want a diverse portfolio, then you could go about it different ways. Right? You go about it horizontally, or you go about it conglomerately. New product service that are significantly unrelated. So you're buying things that are completely related to your core business, or you're buying some things completely unrelated. What are some examples you could think of where companies bought businesses or products that were completely unrelated? Can you think of anything that Amazon has ever bought, companies or products? I think Amazon Echo. Anyone have an Echo in the house? Right, and like Amazon, how's that related to delivery services? Or when we originally started all these books. Like, how's that related? Well, it's not. But we see some growth, some opportunity, where a company make a ton of money. So now we're like, hey, we want to get into the business of personal PDAs, or PAs, personal assistant, right? Amazon Echo. So then you're like, whoa, that's interesting. Amazon, which was not really a competitor to Google at all, no threat, like Google goes back to the drawing board and say, oh, wait up. Amazon just became a threat to us on information. Like I thought that we were the gods of information. How did Amazon do everything like focus on the web? Well, Amazon got into a new business. Whole new business. So now they're in your house. Amazon's in your house, listening sometimes, picking up, things that you say to, get advertised later. Yes.
When Apple bought Beats, at the time it made sense.
It seemed like it did make sense?
Yeah.
Wow.
Before like the AirPods and stuff like that. That was all good.
Yeah, you kind of like, hey, Apple, why don't you buy Beats if you already had AirPods? iPods, AirPods, right? What was it about Beats?
They were a competitor to them.
Yeah, I'm saying how, but like think about that. We're talking about listening devices. What will differentiate Beats from everything else? Like if we're talking, looking at all the companies that make things to listen to, like devices we listen to, like what separates them from Bose, Harman Kardon, Beats? Like what separates them to make one better than the other? Right? Like technology. And sometimes with specific technology, there's a patent. So Apple can't just steal whatever Beats has inside to make it sound like, man, Beats sound way better than AirPods. Right? They can't just steal that and just say, we're gonna push that. Like it has a patent on it, right? Same would go with Bose or whatever systems in your car or your house. You're like, these devices have a patent. No one can just come up with a new iPhone and, completely replicate that and be sued and be shut down quickly, right? So you can't replicate the technology. You can maybe innovate the technology. But if Apple saw maybe that there was a gap, Apple maybe saw it was a gap, but their listening devices like, hey, anything else extra we add to this device will cost too much for a consumer, and then people are not gonna buy it. So there's a threshold. Right? They say Beats is on to something. So if we could purchase it now, maybe we could find a way to price it a way that's affordable with like this awesome sound. Sound that sounds better than Apple, really. Yeah, all right, so think Amazon. Amazon's like, hey, we'll buy Amazon Echo, we're in your house. Now we're a direct competitor to Google. And then next, Google comes up. Hey, we'll have Google Home now. Like, after Amazon Echo. Like, you guys were already in the tech business. Amazon was really a delivery service, but really it's in the tech business. Logistics is technology. So whatever logistics systems that, and consumer systems that Amazon has, it was beating Google. So then Google comes with Google Home later, right? And it kind of followed Amazon, which is interesting. Then Amazon says, you know what? Hey, remember we used to get into like selling books and CDs and DVDs. How do we continue that in a modern environment? What's the new market? Fire Stick. Like, oh, people just do apps on TV now, right? So let's have a Fire Stick. You stick it in HDMI port, boom, right? You got all your apps, HBO Max, blah, 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 on a Fire Stick. Right? Google comes later and have their own thing. They have the Google Home plug-in or whatever, wireless display system. Apple comes later after Google and say, oh yeah, by the way, we got one too. The Apple blah, blah, blah is inside home. Right? So we kind of see like, hey, entering a new market can be very beneficial, especially if you're a first mover. Now Google may be probably having an advantage there because Google once again says we control information. So they're asking the question, hey Google, right? You're asking Alexa, Alexa's still using Google, right? Still using Google, how you still gotta go through us to get that wonderful answer to your question. But good moves, right? So think about this, when you decide on which companies that you pick, this is the mindset we have to have. You know, and I don't care if you pick the local ice cream shop in Oak Park, you can quickly look around the neighborhood and say, who's the competitor? Right, who's the threat? Hey, what are some opportunities on the high end? How come you don't sell this? Why do you got that? Let's use this, right? Like literally, you should, and I'm telling you, you get creative. I say go into these businesses that you're interested in. You know, go as a group where everybody's schedule doesn't permit one person to go talk, have Zoom meetings, just convey the information, communicate with each other. But you can go and see like, man, a lot of these businesses, they don't last because they have a very simple mindset, right? They're just not thinking about it. They're just trying to sell the same old bread, cookies, and ice cream. No potential for growth. So we could go in any business and say, hey, what are your cash cows, right? What are your dogs, right? What are your stars? And then they'll be like, what? Hey, you run a business, you didn't think about that? And no. Right. And then we come 2 years later and have a business. Right? So, strategically, this is how it goes, yes?
Are those terms like cash cows and question mark, is that like an actual thing, or is that like just class?
No, that was an actual thing. Boston Consulting Group with that matrix there, everybody kind of uses the terminology. Right? I mean, everybody, like, cash cow is definitely the big one, because we probably all have heard the term cash cows, right? But yeah, once you get more into the business environment, they're definitely talking about it, right? Because think about it. You're not trying to say, every human beings are simple, we like things in simple terms, right? That's why we have acronyms, we have emojis. Nobody wants to type in I'm happy, when you just put in an emoji of a happy face. Wants to type in coffee, when you put an emoji of coffee. You can say 100 things with 5 emojis, right? It's the same applies to business world, right? When you get into it, it becomes a language, a jargon. Kind of every profession has jargon, right? The law profession. What was that? What is it? They understand it, maybe we don't. Yes, and kind of all the business world, especially when it comes to marketing, yes, these terms are used. Because they're kind of simple to understand. They make a lot of sense without saying too much. Someone else had a question? All right, group discussion. We'll get in our groups and talk about this for maybe 4 or 5 minutes. Hey, discuss the pros and cons of each of the marketing development strategies. These strategies, right? So get in your groups and talk about, hey, what are the pros of that? What are the cons? Can you think of any examples? You know, that would be great. Think of some things. So I'll give you about 4 or 5 minutes within your group to talk about this and see what you come up with, right? Try to think of pros and cons for all of them, all the different ones.
I like a really odd question. I'm stuck on this discussion. So like when somebody commits this, what like if CUC sees like a decrease in like students attending that school, what is that called?
Loss in enrollment?
Yes. I was looking for the word enrollment.
You know, I'm always here.
What are some pros and cons for centric diversification?
That's very fun.
Add some of these products or services.
It leverages the company you already have built. Like you can use, like if it's Apple and they come out with a new product, you already have like
Leveraging shared technology skills.
you already have like the company.
We can enhance customer satisfaction.
What are some cons?
Resource liberation. So, not adding resources to more items. Say if one of the items doesn't sell, then like you're spending money on those resources that shouldn't be.
Inefficient use of money.
Pretty much.
Alright, what's our next one?
Cause of that?
Higher initial cost, like it's all have to launch. Products, we have to provide a
I was trying to think what would Yeezy be to Adidas.
Okay.
Alright.
Responsible.
Maybe if you can add on that, that's a question. What do you think Yeezy would have been? A star, a cash cow, a dog, right?
If like if nothing bad happens, I feel like Easy would be a star right now still. Because like they have shoes every $250.
Way more than that.
Yeah. So like retail or something. And they can keep on.
You know, it was so interesting, like people thought those Yeezy slides or the original
That has to be like
Yeezys were like new. But I remember seeing those things being sold on like Alibaba and AliExpress from China, like 5, 6, 7 years before Kanye came out with it. So it really just meant like Kanye's capitalized on taking like an unbranded shoe, because usually it was just an unbranded thing, like some no-name Chinese product. But yeah, it wasn't new. Like when you see those slides, you're like, oh my God, that design, whoa. And like, I saw that on Alibaba like 7 years prior to release, right? But that's the power of celebrity sponsorship, the power of Kanye's brand to revolutionize something like that, right? To make it cool.
So Jordan and Nike. Without Jordan, it's
How's it going, Jeff? What's in cash today?
It was like some
Okay. Group 1. Pros and cons. What are some of your thoughts?
For concentric diversification, we said for some pros, this could widen your consumer base, and then it could also, you can leverage the company and you can build upon it, using like the name and the likeness already, and then can kind of introduce whatever that is for your company. For cons, we said it could be an inefficient use of resources. If you introduce this similar product or service, but it's not selling well, you're kind of allocating resources to it when it could be going to, your mainstream product or business. For horizontal diversification, we said pros, you're providing new products. So you're gonna have more money and production for the company, but con would be this is high risk because you're entering a new market and you're gonna have to have like different sectors of your company to handle like a new product or a new division of whatever it is, it's a restaurant or a tech company. And then for conglomerate, we only got the pros, but we just said this would kind of help like lessen the risk because you would have not necessarily similar products, but since it's since it's completely different, this could kind of keep you afloat. If one thing goes bad, you have something completely unrelated that could still help your business.
All right, group two.
I was gonna do
Pros and cons, start from the top.
alright, for like the pros with Centric, it could probably be like something that's related to whatever you're already selling to people or like, and stuff like that, so it boosts sales and stuff in that sense. The cons could be, people could be like, oh, it's the same thing all over, and then buy it, and then you actually like what they said, you gotta allocate resources to something that's not producing.
For horizontal, I think the pro would be, you add like an unlimited products with something that's like obviously not part of the same, like Apple, you add something different, it could like give people a question, but like, hey, it's Apple, I trust them, let me try it, and that like boost sales, or you can go the opposite way, like for a con, and like be like, what is this, like, you just wasted time and like, all of that resources and for no reason.
And maybe even the image, kind of like, oh man, Apple got a failure on here, right? We're used to them winning. And then you start to question Apple, like where they're going. Like, I'm not sure where their company's going to, right? They got into some gimmicky new product that nobody wants. And, you know, maybe even with the Apple glasses. Like, man, it's a wonderful idea. But it's gimmicky. Why is it gimmicky? No one's gonna buy glasses for $3,500. Anyone of you gonna buy them? Right? It's not gonna happen. So like, hey, Apple has a device. I don't know. Maybe it's just to them a concept. Maybe they're just trying to test the market. Like literally, it could just be the decision making would be like, hey, we put it at that price on purpose because that's what it costs to actually make this, and this is what we sell it at to make a profit. But we just want to test. Maybe we're trying to be the first behind Google had one. Maybe we're trying to be the first or second in that market, right? We want to see what happens. We're just trying to see how people respond. But it's risky, right? And then you start to question, you know, how the business is going. So, okay. Anything else?
We can do one, yeah, so that one would probably be, it could help like diversify your business and deal with more customers, and then economy, like, if that unrelated product didn't work out, it could just, cause you to lose a lot of money.
Risky.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. All right. Next week.
So, for the first one, we have, for the pros, we have better competition in advertising, and you would have to advertise better for the company. And then the cons would be other brands outselling you depending on how long they've been there for. The second one, horizontal, we have, pro is a broader audience, more customers. And then the con would be not being as trustworthy. And then the third one, for pro, getting more customers and having success and expanding if it works out. And then a con would be being outsold and it not working.
Good, very good.
diversification, as you could say, it's like, because products are kind of similar, you have a variety to a certain market that you're, sharing to, but some cons could be like, maybe you have too much of a variety where, like the same concept of, I forgot what you said, it was like the Apple, like there's like the iPad and then there's a MacBook, but then if you like mix the two, it would be bad. So
Yeah,
that could be,
cannibalized, right?
yeah, that could be a con. For conglomerate, you said that you can expand, explore to new business opportunities, so that'd be a pro, and you can leverage your existing customers into a new market, so that you can use that. The cons would be that if you could reposition your brand from what you already specialize in, so like if Dunkin' Donuts started making chicken, like that would be good.
You wouldn't be good. Excellent, good analogies there, right? Hey, think about it. Like we keep it simple, we always use Apple. You like, hey, concentric diversification. Apple iPhone, iPhone Mini, iPhone Pro, iPhone Max, iPhone, right? Like, how far are you gonna go with this iPhone now, right? Like you're pushing the same stuff, you're trying to penetrate the market. You're trying to give different people at different price points, or different uses, right? People want the giant screen and because they read books off their phone or something. You're like, okay, that could be concentric, right? The horizontal, often new unrelated. Often new or sometimes unrelated, right? And or, there could be something of the watches, but it worked. Right? You're like, hey, we have the operating system, but we don't know nothing about watches, really. We just had the operating system to watch, make it look good, boom. Right? May work, it may not work. We saw that with the Apple glasses. It's not working right now. It costs $35. But then you're like, hey, what would conglomerate be? Hey, Apple wants to build a car. You're like, Apple, what do you know about cars? Nothing. But we know about technology, right? We know about operating system. There's some other stuff. That'd be conglomerate. Same company getting into different business. So you think of like low risk, moderate risk, high risk. Like a new car. Oh, you're gonna go against Tesla? You think that'll work? I don't know. You go against Mercedes-Benz, BMW, people who've been doing it for 100 years? No, it's kind of risky, right? Just because you got technology don't mean you can build a car and profit and make drivers satisfied. Risky. So we say, hey, the level of risk and the level of cost. Conglomerate, you don't know nothing about that business. It's another company, people operating, now you gotta get to know an entire new, you need a whole new, like you changing subjects or changing your major. You gotta learn some whole new stuff, right?